everyone, and welcome back to another Rocket Lab Saturday here with Stock Trek Girl. And boy, do we have a lot to talk about this Saturday on Rocket Lab. So much has happened. We're going to talk about the stock selling by the CEO. We're going to talk about Neutron updates. We're going to talk about, well, I can't tell you everything we're going to talk about because you're just going to have to watch, aren't you? So we're going to be going into so much more. So be sure to stay tuned. So I know some of you might be new to Rocket Lab, and then, there's a lot of you who have been followers of my channel that have been long-term investors in Rocket Lab for a long time. So just to go over some things, if you bought the stock recently, you're going to notice there was a bit of a decline. And on one particular day, it went down almost about 12%, like between 10 and 12%. And the reason being is that the CEO, Peter Beck, sold about $20 million worth of shares. So a lot of people were like, why is the CEO selling? Does he know something we don't know? Obviously, he's the CEO, so he's an insider. And a lot of times people look at insider selling as a negative sign. However, Peter Beck was gracious enough to give us a Twitter post on why he sold. So let's go take a look at that Twitter post and see what explanation did he give us. And is it any good?
Someone asked him a question. They said he owns about 11.29% of the total stock count for Rocket Lab. I believe that's about 54 million shares. He decided to sell about 3.6 million shares, which is about 6% of his holdings. So Peter Beck responds, I sold a small holding yesterday for estate planning purposes and to capitalize my charitable foundation. No further sales planned for the foreseeable future. I like hearing that because I really think that he means it.
So basically he sold to settle his estate and deal with some charity stuff. Well, that's sweet of him. So, I mean, not a big deal, not a big deal. It was a small percentage of his ownership. So it's not like he pulled a Richard Branson on us, people. I mean, I know some of you had invested in space, and I'm going to save the space talk for another day. But it's not like he did anything drastic. It's not like this is going to follow in the steps of other companies that just have totally let their investors down. He seems very interested in his portion of the company, and he knows the potential of what he's accomplishing. He's just not going to turn around and like sell the majority of his stake. I don't see that happening. But could it? I mean, yeah, it could. But honestly, he knows what he has. And another thing is when you're looking at stocks and you're trying to figure out if it's a good investment, which is, why we're talking about this, is Rocket Lab a good investment? I think it is. And I'm going to give you some key points on why. One of the key things that I like to see is insider ownership, right? So the CEO, Peter Beck, he owns a good stake in Rocket Lab. So that's a good sign. Another sign you're going to want to look for in a company when you're investing in it is the institutional ownership. How much do the megabucks believe in this company? Do they want a piece of it? When you're looking at companies like Tesla and Apple and all them, you're going to see a higher institutional ownership. I think Tesla is somewhere in like the upper 40 percentages. Like last time I checked, it was like 46% or something of the shares were owned by an institution. And, if you're going on something like Microsoft, it's going to be even higher, like 70 or 80%, I think. Don't quote me on that, but it's something like that. So you're going to look for a high stake of institutional investors. And Rocket Lab has over 50% of shares owned by institutions. That is a huge green light. Okay, so you should be really excited about that. Not to mention, I came across this article. So come on, I want to show you this article. It's really cool, and it talks about the possibilities of Rocket Lab and the potential growth over the next few years.
Now, this article was put out by MarketWatch, and it talks about 20 stocks of the aerospace and defense companies that are expected to grow sales the most quickly through 2025. And believe it or not, but the top two companies on that list were none other than Virgin Galactic and Rocket Lab. Virgin Galactic taking the #1 spot, and they're expected to grow at 178.9% compounded annual growth rate through 2025. And Rocket Lab had a 46.5% compounded annual growth rate through 2025 at the #2 spot. Now, out of those two, however, Rocket Lab obviously has the most stability and a CEO that is very well invested in the company. So I will talk more on Virgin Galactic at another video that I will be putting out shortly. So stay tuned for that.
So speaking of growth, Rocket Lab also announced another HASTE contract mission. 4 more launches signed under contract. Boom, boom, boom. Right to the bank.
So the HASTE stands for Hypersonic Accelerator Suborbital Test Electron Missions. And these missions are scheduled to go across 2024 and 2025, and they're going to lift off from none other than Launch Complex 2 in Virginia at NASA's Wallops Island facility.
I mean, that is awesome. They are doing amazing when it comes to their launches and getting their contracts in. So this is good for the pipeline. This is good for the revenue overall around. And I think Rocket Lab is poised for a lot of growth in the coming years. I think probably the end of this year, it might be a little bit bumpy due to a lot of the costs that are going to be associated in the Neutron development. But let me tell you what, 2024, 2025, and beyond, we're going to be looking at some really amazing growth, and I'm excited about that.
And we are getting busy and ramping up with Neutron development. And as you can see right here, Peter Beck is proudly standing in front of the Stage 2 tank for Neutron, getting ready to be tested. And here we have the Stage 2 Neutron tank being tested, and it underwent a cryogenic fill and pressure cycles to determine structural and sealing integrity and performance. So folks, we are well on our way to having our medium launch vehicle. And I'm super excited for Rocket Lab's next upcoming mission, We Will Never Desert You. The mission patch is just so adorable, by the way, whoever designed that. Really liking it. And We Will Never Desert You is going to be a launch for Capella and their new Acadia satellite. So Rocket Lab has been Capella's sole launch provider in 2023 to build out the company's Earth imaging constellation. And what's really cool is that on these missions, not only is Rocket Lab delivering their satellite, but Capella Space is being supported by Rocket Lab's manufactured motorized lightband separation systems for each satellite to attach and deploy from Electron once it has been launched into orbit. So here we see Rocket Lab putting its space systems to good use on top of its launch capabilities. And this is scheduled to launch on the September 19th. So definitely be looking forward to that. I will be posting more launch information on my X/Twitter account.
So let's talk about the share price. I know I haven't really talked about it in the past couple videos. I kind of want to go over it now. It's kind of, you know, since Peter sold, it's been, well, you know, it's been kind of holding itself, so to speak. It's not really going drastically down, but it's not going drastically up. So we're kind of just in this, you know, floating phase. We're just floating along.
Okay, this is what I wanted to kind of point out when I meant by floating along. So as you can see right here, this is where Peter Beck sold, okay? So he sold right here. There was a big drop, And then people look like they were buying the dip right here. And then we've just kind of been casually meandering and floating along, as you can see here. And we are now at $5.12 a share as of market close on Friday. So, I mean, I anticipate us, you know, depending on our catalyst that we have moving ahead, we could go as low. I know I said before we might go into like the top threes, but I don't know. I'm not sure I still feel the same way. If anything, if we were to go lower, I'm guessing maybe around 450-ish. But because if you look at the long-term chart here, I mean, we're forming a good, you know, we're going over the mountain, so to speak. And I've talked about going over mountains and we are clearly going over the mountain, and, you know, we have a lot of volume down here. So I think we're going to do good, you know, like 450, 495, 450, but I don't know if I see us going lower than that. So yeah, this is a pretty good space to pick up some shares just around this area.
So if you're on the sideline, you know, and you're wondering if you should buy or not buy, I'm not a financial guru. I'm not a, you know, gypsy or whatever. I cannot predict where this is going. But, you know, if you look at the charts, we can get a general idea. And, you know, it doesn't hurt to start accumulating or dollar cost averaging by a little bit each, you know, weekly or monthly until you hit your target. For Rocket Lab, I already have a sizable portion in it. I'm sitting on it, and I'm just waiting for the good times. And be sure to hit the subscribe button if you're not already a subscriber. That way you don't miss any more upcoming Rocket Lab Saturday videos, not to mention other videos that I put out on different space companies and investing. So be sure to click the like button, click the subscribe button, and hit the bell so you're always notified whenever I post something. You can also find me on Twitter, now X, I guess, under the handle Stock Trek Girl, and be sure to follow me there where you can chat with me, ask questions, talk to other fans, and join the community. So I look forward to seeing you, and until next time, invest long and prosper.